What's up, everybody?
Yeah, let's
My
do it.
name is my name is Ryan Middleton. This is the whole story where health overarches literally everything. And today I have a very, very, very special guest, my brother from another mother, Mr. Chase. Mr. Chase. Yeah, hey, bro, you can just introduce yourself. This is a brief thing, maybe where you're
Yeah.
from, just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dig in from there.
hmm Yeah, yeah. My name is Chase Walker. Uh, I live in PA right now, York, to be specific, in the central PA area. Um, Married with my two kids, two girls. Originally, I'm from Liberia. That's where I was born, West Africa. Grew up there until I was probably around 17. No, actually 14. Went to Ghana because of the war. Stayed there a little bit on the refugee camp for like 6 years. Went back to Liberia, worked a little bit. Eventually moved to the U.S. for school. And ever since, I made a life for myself here. With my two babies and wife. Um, yeah. I work as an artist, designer. And man, what else I'm leaving out? Yeah, all things creative. Got my hands in everything.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
hmm
Long time, man. Long time coming, and I think I told you about this dream, this thing that I had on my heart. That's what God was giving me, way back, right? When I first,
Yeah,
first
you did.
yeah, man. To
Yeah.
be here at this moment, and to be able to, just share the platform with you. Matter of fact, I mean, well, we talked
hmm
about what actually like doing it together at one point. Do something like this.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
We talked about co-hosting this and actually making it happen.
yeah,
And at some point, you were like, "Okay." Ryan was like, "I'm just gonna run with this." So
yeah,
good to see you. Good to see you starting it and not waiting for me because
yeah.
I was dragging my leg for a long time. So
I mean, life be life,
really proud
man.
to see it happening.
Yeah, life be life, man. So at the
Yeah,
end of the day,
sure.
I mean, what I'm saying, like,
hmm
it's definitely understood. And like I said,
Yeah.
I really, like I said, just even general, man, like, I respect the heck out of you, man, for sure. So, man, yeah, man, I kind of want to dig in with a few things. Tell me about
hmm
let's go, let's tell me about your spiritual journey. Um, you can go as fast as in deep as you want on that, how that began, and how that has impacted you, to this point right now.
Yes. Spiritual journey. Gosh, grew up in the church for sure. Because back home, as a African parent, in the morning everybody has to like get up and get ready on Sunday morning for church. You're not even eating, bro. You gotta be up, clothes is pressed, iron everything prior to that day. And for us, it was just an event, right? We just going to church,
Yeah,
uh, and enjoying Sunday school with teacher teaching, Bible stories. For me, that was just something the family did,
yeah,
and it wasn't till we actually had war in Liberia, a civil war, and there's a lot of history to that and what happened in Liberia, from just tribal groups, one group fighting another group and all that, and we've had like series of civil wars over the existence of Liberia. So we had left Liberia because my mom was like, "No, we got to get out of here," because we
yeah,
had survived two already. This was like the next civil war, and my mom was like, "Nah, we got to get out of here." So she somehow made it possible for everybody that morning get into some type of like car. The driver was like was able to drive us from Liberia all the way to another country called Ghana. We had to take like multiple different like, trucks and, buses and sleep different places just to get there to this refugee camp. And it was a crazy journey. I mean, we were privileged because a lot of people didn't make it out of the country, and they got killed, and went through a lot. So for me, that was like, looking back, I can say like the grace of God was on my life,
Yeah.
because there were so many wars in Liberia that either I can't remember or I remember a little thing, but I didn't really get the effect of what happened to a lot of people. The terrible things that happened to a lot of people. So we went to Ghana, and in Ghana it was tough, man. No running water, no bathroom inside. Like it was crazy. Had to like sleep with distant family relatives that was already in Ghana on the refugee camp. So everybody's in that same house together.
Wow.
Crazy for like months. And once we settled, kind of got our own place a little bit outside the camp, but it was still not much better from what we had, got introduced to. And of course, there were churches on camp on the refugee camp, and we started going. My mom sort of stopped going to church, um, which was really interesting. But I always went. I mean, I was like at the time, if I'm not mistaken, I was probably, gosh, 13, 14 at a time. And then we stayed there all the way up to my teenage years. But I was able to like, keep going to church. And in that, I found a lot of people who were, just like relatable, right? We all came from the same place. We all came from Liberia, and we all formed this community in church. So like I look forward to going to church, but at the time, not because of anything spiritual, but really for community, because I really didn't have my own relationship with God at the time. It was just like, oh yeah, we're happy going to church, and I have all these kids my age that just
Yeah.
go and we just have fun.
Yeah.
Whether it was just going for like, I mean, so one of the funny thing our youth leader did was like she placed everybody into the youth choir, whether you could sing or not. So you had a reason to come to the
Yeah.
church, even if it wasn't Sunday, right? Uh,
That's
so I
crazy.
was in it, everybody was in it, and we would go there like, Monday, no, not Mondays, but we would go there Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we were, you know, have a lot of fun, just like having conversation, having community, and then on Sunday, and then if it was like youth choir time, you would go and sing, and that was it. But at the same time, we started being fed with the word. Our youth
Mm.
teacher, which was pretty cool, she would make us to kind of like memorize different Bible verses and stuff. Kind of like hey, like say all your books from in the New Testament and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So even though you're not paying attention, you start to remember things like
Yeah.
subconsciously.
Yeah.
So you begin to sort of get a image of what kind of faith you have, right?
Yeah.
So staying around that conversation a lot with people who know the word, or people who are preachers and people who are
Hmm.
singing and stuff like that, musicians and all that, you get a lot of things pour into you when you're not even like really paying attention.
Yeah.
So that got me to love music within the church, but also the community of church.
Gotcha.
And um, when I was like 17, we had like a youth camp. I had like a really powerful spiritual experience where then I gave my life to Christ at 17.
Wow.
At least at that time, I could understand what the gospel was. I could understand what faith means, what
Yeah.
sin was, and what salvation was, what repentance was, and all those things. So I can see that how God like orchestrated me as a young kid in Liberia going to church, to how He designed the entire thing, to a
Yeah.
refugee camp where now I know the Lord. So since then, I've always like have my relationship with God. Even when we left from the camp, because a lot of people in Ghana in my church left for other countries, whether it's the U.S., Australia, because they had like programs. So they had refugee programs where they resettle you to another country other than the
Oh
country that
wow.
you came from.
Okay.
Yeah, so that sort of like really hit me hard too because a lot of kids that was my community left.
Got you. Uh,
So out of maybe like 32 kids, maybe 20 left,
oh man.
you know. And so that really hit me hard and I stopped going to church for a long time before I even left Ghana because I was like they were all my community. But I was naive at the time to know that to understand that God is what got you here and your eyes should be focused on him.
Yeah.
But as a young teenager, I was like, oh, my friends are gone.
Yeah.
You know, like that fire of just like always going, choir practice and all those things kind of left me. And I would go there once in a while, but all the people that actually, sort of made me want to go wasn't there anymore. Um, but then after I returned to Liberia, I started going to church again. Because I was a little bit much older.
Yeah.
Like I could understand why that happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just to fast forward, I stayed in the Word. I wasn't. I had my experience as a teenager and chasing girls and here and there. Like I would do all those things, but I was like, yeah, like I would still have that like anchor to God.
Yeah.
So I had all these things. Like I live in sin as well. I did all my craziness, but I always knew God was there. And some season I would get serious, and some season I wouldn't get. Some season I would get serious, and some season I would like backslide. But God really sort of designed everything in front of me to make sure that I didn't fall so deep that I couldn't come back to Him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good.
And even me coming to the US and everything, me just as a one person, like not with a family, anything going on campus in Syracuse and having to like just again, be away from family and just navigate life in the US by myself, no help, nobody, but also just like remembering at that point that God is in control.
Yeah.
Like if you kind of like take a back and kind of like look back in my life, the moment all those people left the refugee camp, and I was like, oh, it's just me now.
Yeah.
Like when that happened in the US, I didn't just say it's me now. I was like, oh yeah, God has me now. Because at that point I was like, oh, like people can leave or I can be removed from people, but I can still have God. So like now I was like serious with God. Because at
Yeah.
this point I was like, there's nothing that's nobody else that can help me but God.
Yeah. That's good.
That's when my faith got more serious.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
Hmm.
About that,
Yeah.
to kind of add the answer you don't have to, but that transition, bro, from being a believer, in coming out, in the camp and going to America, how was it? What was the difference between the culture? How bad was the culture shock when you came to America?
Yeah. I mean, it was massive. Everything, man. From from the good and bad too, right?
Yeah.
Africa is very community centric, so
Mhm.
you can't do anything without somebody knowing,
Yeah.
right? Even if you live in an apartment complex, like if people don't see you for like 2 days, you get like somebody knocking on your door, like, how you doing? How you doing, brother? How you doing, brother? Like, I don't even know you, bro, but they checking up on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
That's crazy.
crazy. If there's holidays or anything like that, like you should be assured people will be at your door with food.
Wow.
Even the people you don't know, like they're all in your like people will dish out food for like 12 plates and walk to all the neighbors and take it there, like one by one by one.
Wow.
And they expect you to do the same. So you gotta cook on, on Christmas Day as well. So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
so Yeah, that was a big part of learning in the US that people are very individualistic here, that it's just about me and my family, right? And that family might just be my daughters and my wife, and even grandma isn't included if she doesn't want to be included. Like it's really different in the US. And I had to learn that community sometimes looks different from place to place. And that doesn't mean that other places in the US it doesn't work, like where communities kind of like, people are actually much more cohesive. But I'm saying like what I was introduced into in the US looked like that for me. And in school, like people would tell you stuff like, "Oh, you dress, you're dressing well. I didn't know people in Africa could dress like that." Like, you know, people would
Really?
say stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, people in your class would would say stuff like that. Um, people would make like crazy comments that, I mean, one day I was on campus, with a bike, I had a police cruiser pull up on me. Like, we got a word that somebody was like, stealing a bike. Like, where'd you take it from? And I'm standing in a group of like bunch of students. I'm like, why just me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But those are things I was not picking up on,
Yeah,
like the subtle racism here and there, and just like how systemic it was and all those things. Like for me, coming from Africa, I was like, maybe they're just doing a job.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
it was a lot getting used to. I tell you that for sure. The food, the weather was crazy because coming from West Africa to Syracuse it's no joke.
Well,
You're that's upstate New York. That's
that's
close to
cold,
Canada.
bro.
So you got all the snow. It's cold, cold.
Whoa,
So it was, it was crazy. Yeah,
that's yeah, that's man. I can't even imagine, bro. Like to be honest, like that, man. That's two different cultures, man. Yeah, to even think about that's pretty wild. Yeah, man. Okay,
yeah.
as a now that you, let's say, now you here, of course, you got
Hmm.
more serious with your relationship. Now, bro, kind of just taking off what you're
Yeah.
saying now. Now, can you explain your experience as a black man in America? And
Hmm.
if you want to, you could dive into some small mental health things, okay, what it has done,
Yeah. Yeah.
as far as a black man being in these Americas and being a part of these governments that we
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
and yeah, things in control. Can you share a
Hmm.
little bit about
Hmm.
that?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think I've learned. I'll just start by saying I've done a lot of um, learning on my journey in the U.S. And a lot of that learning is learning about the Black American struggle. Because it's easy. I've seen this a lot in my community, in the African community, and other forms of immigrant who, when you come, you know, the idea is to, you work hard, you get what you can get, and you become successful.
Mhm.
They don't tell you about all the other things that happens against black people, the roadblocks that you see, that was designed. It wasn't just organically put there,
Yeah,
whether it was true redlining in the past, whether it was true, the black struggle through civil rights, and the you know, school to prison industrial complex where people want you
yeah,
to actually go to prison because
yeah.
there's free label for companies.
So crazy.
There's a lot of things that I had to learn. So in my mind, when I came out of time, was like, I mean, why aren't people taking the opportunity and doing something with it?
Hmm.
That's the mindset that I had. And it was very like, oh yeah, I just gonna come here and do what I can do to really succeed. But then you begin to see things and learn things and understand the society and the plights of black people and the plights of, just like how much they've sacrificed for even immigrants to come here and even do what we're doing right now and reap those benefits. So for me, as a person of faith, but also as a black person, but someone that's not from here, it was all those things mixed into like me having empathy for the struggle of Black Americans, but also me having the faith to understand that um, just praying and being successful is not enough, but just knowing that having the ability to sort of contribute to the struggle, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's like something's happening. If you're not protesting, are you posting about it? Are you sharing your community for like, what's happening? I mean, like there's so much happening right now, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's like, um, people, being grabbed off the street without due process, putting them in prison, all those things and stuff like that. Well, like, what do you do about it as a black person in the U.S.?
Yeah.
And yeah, so from me at that time, I was like, oh yeah, it's all about like, people got to work hard. And then I was like, oh no, that's not just all.
Gotcha.
You know,
Yeah.
there are systems put in place that set you back. So I had to learn through that. Um, but then also just praying through everything, man,
Mhm.
praying through everything because a lot of these things are physical, but a lot of things are spiritual at the same time.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm feeling like really down or in the process of like, man, is there anything that's gonna change? You know, is there anything that's like, you know, um, gonna get better? I always have to remember, okay, there's somewhere I come from where people, no matter how much they try, can never be to my worst year. So that humility, I have to like remember it, but I
Mhm.
also have to then pray within my now of like, okay, like I'm stressed. I'm working my butt off, not being able to spend time with the kids enough. I'm working on two, three projects at the same time. Um, feeling like it's too much on my shoulder. Having
Yeah.
to take care of family back home, all those things. I have to balance that with like saying, okay, God, you wouldn't give me a burden that's too hard for me to bear. You know,
Gotcha.
so it's so like mental health for me is like a mixture of just like realizing how far I've come,
Yeah.
you know, that I cannot be this far without God. That's the first thing. I would not have made it this far without God. But also remembering that, just like, hey, there's family back home that's depending on you, that like you have to succeed. You have
Yeah.
to. That's a pressure by itself, right? You have to
Yeah.
succeed to make sure you take care of, people back home. And that's on your shoulder at the same time. But then you have to look after yourself at the same time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so it's a lot. It's a lot. So and then you have two kids. You barely have time for yourself
Yeah.
because by the time you leave work and you trying to like take 10 minutes, the baby's out the door. Daddy,
Yeah.
daddy, daddy, daddy. So it's like
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So you just like you just on it from work to like taking care of kids to like you close your eyes and it's in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's just like this race of like running, you know, and there's almost nowhere to stop. I feel like that sometimes. Like I'm on this race that's just like you can't stop. You got to keep up, but if you stop, you get overrun.
Man,
And the
that's
person on
sweet.
the side show giving you some water is like Jesus. It's like, hey, Holy Spirit, like, take some water, like cool your
Yeah.
chest. There's
Yeah.
an end. You know what I mean? He's coaching you. He's like, there's an end. It's
Mhm.
not just a circle, it's an end. That's how I see if I could picture my life in the US from the day I came here to now, it's like I'm being on that road
Wow.
you know. Now sometimes the journey is slow.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get to some of the stage, you walk in, you're like, okay, yeah, I can catch my breath,
Yeah.
but then it starts again.
Yeah.
It
Guys.
reminds me when Paul said that, we're running a race,
Yeah.
and it feels like that as well. It feels like that's a race. But I think the difference from people who aren't people of faith to us is like there's an end to that race. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There is an
Gotcha.
end.
There
Yeah.
is.
So
Man,
yeah.
that was really good, man. I appreciate you talking about that. When did you realize mental health mattered to you? That's the start of that question.
Yeah, yeah, good question. So I think Honestly, it's what when I met my wife,
Right.
because she's a counselor, therapist, and everything, and
Yeah.
I think, I mean, from an African background, I didn't care. I just, when things was hard, it was hard.
Yeah.
When things was working, it was working. It was no way to process things, or even understand like the mental health aspect of things. So I think, God is always strategic in how he connects you and who he
Mm,
connects you with, especially when you're finding, your person. So yeah, she was the one that sort of like, brought up all these conversations, because sometimes we'll be arguing and like, and after the conversation, she'd be like, "Listen, have you, da 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 da, talk to somebody, talk to a therapist, and all those things like that."
yeah.
And she would be bringing that conversation. I'm like, I don't care about that. I'll be fine. But she is persistent, man.
Mm,
So that really did help her bringing things up, and like when we had like issues and stuff like that, we had to talk to somebody, or maybe talk to like my first interaction ever with a therapist was like me and her meeting somebody, through our
oh,
marriage
nice.
counseling. So
Awesome.
yeah, so that was like God just like strategically letting her be the person that sort of like opened that door towards like mental health. And for me, it's still a new thing,
Hmm.
you know. Me not being someone that actually grew up here, and having an understanding to all that. So it's like learning a lot from her, learning through the process, but also like having to figure out and navigate my own way of what that means to me, right? So
Yeah.
it's still early on for me in terms of just like understanding that, but like really diving into it as well. But I've learned a lot through me and her having like couples therapy and stuff like that. And at some point, I actually had one-on-one with the guy that was actually doing the therapist, doing our couples therapist,
Hmm.
um, counseling rather. The cool thing is that he's from Kenya. He sort of grew
Oh,
up here, so it was a really good background
yeah.
of like I hear where you're from, but now you're in the U.S.,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So it was a really good bridge to bringing us back, uh, to helping me be comfortable
Yeah.
with the conversations, talking
Yeah.
to another person who understands my background.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was a really great stuff. He's in Lancaster, not too far from here. But yeah, that's the first and the only interaction I've had so far in terms of mental health therapy and stuff like that. Yeah,
Okay. And that's really good. So I mean, I was gonna ask this next question, and it was gonna be about, seasons. That have there
yeah,
been seasons where you felt like you had to carry things alone? When it comes to
hmm,
now that you
yeah,
you've started and you've putting your foot into the water, have you been able to
yeah,
kind of just look back and see like, man, it's been like times where like I really can't talk to anybody. Like I gotta carry this, I gotta I gotta be a man, because I
yeah,
know we as
yeah,
black men, that's just it's
yeah,
crazy. Like it was taboo there, and it was definitely taboo in the community
hmm,
in America. Like
hmm,
I was like,
hmm,
heck no, I ain't doing no therapy. Like because my dad told me
yeah,
though, like,
yeah,
but that's for weak people, So, but yeah, man. So yeah, for so the question is, were there seasons where you felt like you had to carry it along, and you can just
yeah.
kind of speak on that.
For sure. I mean, a lot of seasons of my life, I had to carry things along, especially living in the U.S. because I lived here a long time before I met my wife,
Mhm.
and that meant I was just here, besides having friends here and there, but all my family were back home in Liberia. So when things happen, I just had to like go through it,
Mhm.
whether bad or good, you know, because as much as people back home will understand, they don't understand, because they're not in your position, they're not in the U.S. And people would be like, you're in America and you're complaining, and the thing, some people would think like once you're here, everything should be okay,
Mhm.
because as long as you can afford, it should be okay. So it's hard for people to really understand when you're actually going through, issues, whether it's anxiety, whether it's just like you're going through. Because a long time, I mean, when I was I mean, I had to go through points in in the country where of for example, like just be on my own, number one. But say for example, if I couldn't, there were times where I was like I didn't have somewhere to live, right? Um, and I had to like stop with like a couple of friends here and there on their couches here, and like in an attic or something in Rochester. Like people, there was nobody to share that with, you know, and I still had to like hustle and take care of family back home, even though I wasn't okay here. So it was immensely difficult navigating through all this and still trying to like just still be able to like show up for people,
Yeah.
and make sure that if my mom needs something, I'm providing it, or my sister needs something, I'm providing it because I was here. It was also a burden that I put on myself. I was like, I can't complain because I'm somewhere better, you know. But I had to also learn, it's like, yeah, you can complain, even though
Yeah.
you're somewhere.
Yeah.
It's okay,
Yeah.
you know. It's okay to complain. It's okay not to be okay,
Mm.
you know. And but now I have to. I understand that now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I would beat myself up. I'm like, yeah, I gotta be able to provide for my family. Now I'm like, listen, if I don't have it this month, I don't have it this month. I will. When I get it, I'll provide it. It kind of like get into that place of just like peace, even though you still have the responsibility of family. But if you're not here, how good would it be anyways?
Mhm.
If you don't take care of yourself, like how good would you be for your family in the first place? And then it was through all this, like, even through prayer and all the things and just understanding like my own mental health was like, I gotta be okay. Um, to make sure that other people are okay. And to still be able to navigate the lack of not having, people not having, but you got to still pay bills, you have to pay the mortgage and stuff like that. And if $20 remain over, you can send 10, you can hold on to
Yes.
10. You feel guilty that you don't send everything, and that's the part I dealt with a long time, but just like feeling guilty that I wasn't providing enough for my family back home. But I think now it's not like that. As much as I want to help back home, but now I have like, I have babies that I have to take care of. It's like, listen, if I can, if I can take care of family, I'm still, they'll be okay. I still help when I can. And it's also the biggest burden I put on myself is and this comes up from time to time, is like I should be far enough. I should have been far enough because I have all these immense talent within
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
I came here for a reason. I should be far enough, and da da da. Especially like when I'm working on like certain projects, creative projects, and you know, and it's like, man, if I didn't have anything else to worry about, I could just do this all day. But no, you have stuff to worry about. You have the
Mhm.
kids, you have this, you have life, you have commitments, you know, and all that. And it's a reminder that, like, yes, you can do all these things and be successful, but the most important things in your life will always be the people, your family, God. Those are the things that are important. You
Yeah.
you can achieve everything else, and then what next? What happens without other people that you love? And then maybe you become this rich millionaire, whatever, and
Mhm.
when you look back, you don't have relationship with your kids. You
Ooh.
don't have with your wife, you know, and that's the most valuable thing. That's I have to teach myself that all the time. Even right now, when I'm like trying to persevere and go through like, you know, do this other project here, do this other project here, trying to create this, that, all those things, is like in the grand scheme of things, God's looking at you is like, hey, that's not important. You're not even going to take that thing with you,
Yeah.
you know. And He's got to feedback that back into your mind and let your mind understand. It's like your people, your in your life as the most important thing, not all these things. Yes, isn't grand scheme of things important to provide for them, but you can do it from the hospital bed.
Yeah. That's right.
You know,
That's so good,
um,
bro.
lost relationships. Yeah.
Man, we gonna have to do a part three, man. We gonna have to do a
Yeah.
part three, man. Golly, bro. Like your just so much, you know.
Yeah.
And even a
Yeah.
part three wouldn't be enough, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
If we know like this other stuff that you've been through in your life, you know,
So much.
but
Yeah.
even because it's just so many lanes
Hmm.
and just like we both know, like we are like
Yeah.
onions at a time. It
Hmm.
takes, you know, so much to get us to that middle and you know,
Yeah.
it's a fight, you know. And with that being said, what was your turning point? You know what I'm saying? That was like, because you could have kept been like not listening
Yeah.
to, not hearing the advice of your wife. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could have been
Yeah.
like, like my kids would be all right, they'd be cool. Like, what was your
Yeah.
turning point to uh that said like, you know what? I'm fed up. I want to get this better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was like me and my wife going through a lot of like issues.
Mhm.
Whether it's just like, difference of cultures or how we saw things, or how, you know, how I think she said something to me versus how she really did say it.
Yeah.
And my wife is strong willed as well, so like there was a lot of head buttons at the beginning of our marriage, and we had a lot of issues. And she would be like, "Let's go and see somebody." So I'm like, "I don't need to see nobody. I'm okay. Why can't we just settle our stuff ourselves?"
Yeah.
And she's always an advocate for like making sure that we talk to somebody, make sure we talk to whether it's family or whether it's a counselor and stuff like that. And I think the last thing she was like, "What is it gonna take?" She was like, "What is it gonna take?" And that kind of like really really touched me a lot because when I see my babies, I'm like, shit, I don't want to see them like growing up in a broken home, or I mean, they're girls, not to say it's good for boys either, but
Yeah.
just like I think seeing them and just like seeing life as it is here, I'm like, no, something got to change. That's when we
Yes.
really started like taking seeing a couple of therapists more seriously, and really trying to reflect on my own issues, right?
Hmm.
Like, where is this coming from? Like I was brought up in a home that was, my dad wasn't there. My mom divorced when I was little. That's why like when we moved to Ghana, it was just her and us, her taking care of everything, and lost my dad when I was 13. So I've never been able to see a healthy home like that. So in my mind, I'm like, hey, you can just navigate this thing. You can just make it work. But I didn't know you had to put a lot of hard work into it because I didn't know how to put in hard work into it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a lot of hard work. It's intentional work. It's
Yes.
like you can't just say I love somebody. It's like so much work going into loving them. It's like sometimes taking the wrong side of things, even though you know you're right, is
Hmm.
being wrong.
Hmm.
It's like sacrificing for. It's a lot of sacrifice for the other person. It's a lot of like making sure you show up for people as much as they show up for you. And I think I grew up being very introverted. Like I'm a very introverted person. I'm sociable when the person is in front of me, when we're there. Like I'm very very like I care about people, but I have the tendency of just like disappearing and just being like tunnel vision on what I'm working on. It's not because I don't love people or love my family or anything like that. It's because I've spent so much time alone. I spent my entire young adult life just trying to figure life on by myself. So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to like really connect to somebody and be like, hey, I have this problem. Help me figure it out. It's not
Hmm.
because I don't want to do it, it's because it's like it doesn't come to mind easily.
Mm.
you know. And you yourself know you reach out to me sometimes. I'm like, oh my, damn, Ryan reached out to me yesterday.
And, hey,
I haven't texted him back.
hey, that, and this is a perfect segue for what I was gonna go into next.
Yeah,
Brotherhood,
yeah, yeah.
brotherhood,
Brotherhood.
and a safe space, man. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, my question for you
Mm-hmm.
is first, what is to you the importance of brotherhood? And then I said, what are you still learning? It's because I know it's a
Yeah.
process, as because getting the help now and going through now it's like these different sides of you.
Yeah.
We as men, both of us, still I'm doing this, doing the work still myself. We're it's like
Mm-hmm.
because it's not normal, unfortunately
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
why is that important to you? And then just kind of talk about things I kind of mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, brotherhood is important, man. Like, there's so many times where, stuff was going on. You reach out, we talk and stuff like that. We used to talk a lot. Um, but I mean, there are a lot of stages in my life where I had, people who are, who, rap with and stuff like that and communicate with. Um, and some of those people, like, they've moved on because I was like, I've lived so many different places and, met so many people, people I grew up with and stuff like that. Um, and brotherhood for me, I've I didn't grow up with a father, so it was hard, like, really having a strong and a long, relationship with group of guys, group of brothers, and stuff like that. Because, like, I've always been like a loner and stuff like that. So I'm unlearning the bad part of that, of just like being isolated
Mm.
within yourself. So I have to unlearn
Whew,
those bad skills and try to
that's
learn
good.
what brotherhood really is, and learn the benefits and the good, and not just the selfish part, right? Not just like, hey, when you need someone you can call them, but when they need you to be available as well. And I think brotherhood for me is me learning that, and I think it's great having people who don't give up on you,
Mm.
um who be like, yeah, Chase is crazy, he doesn't call that. I trouble him still, because that pulls you out of your whatever hole you're in, so you be like, oh yeah, yeah, so that's been super helpful. If it takes a month or two, Ryan hit me up, I'm like, yeah, yeah, my man. He still remembers me or something like that. But I think having a responsibility to do it, but to do that to for other people as well. And I think that's where you become responsible, not just for yourself, but for the people within your community, the people within your neighbor, the people within your yeah, people you call family, not just the
Yes,
blood. But
yes,
it's people that's going through their own thing as well, right? Not
yeah,
just about you, but you being able to show up for them. So yeah, yeah, I think brotherhood goes far beyond just just calling or checking up on people, but really, really, really going the extra mile, and being there, when people need you. Yeah,
yeah. See, that's amazing, man. Thank you for that, bro. Now you hit it on the head, man.
yeah.
Dag, man. We got a few more questions, a few more minutes. Gotta respect your time. And then so
Thanks.
I'll ask this, man. Two questions. One is, what habits do you have right now, or have you created that help
hmm
you to stay grounded?
mm. I would say stay in the word, right? And for me that fluctuates sometimes. Sometimes I go like a couple of weeks. I'm like, woof. I'm When I hear something, I'm like, wow, I missed reading the Bible. I missed following the word. I feel like every time I'm spending more time in the word, I'm more grounded.
Mhm,
You know, I'm much. It's much more harder for me to feel stressed or worry or shaken
mhm.
in a way.
Okay.
And I think that's a lesson for me. Even if I'm saying it right now, I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. I can see why I was worrying about, something 2 weeks,
Yeah,
2 days ago or
yes,
something like that. Is because, like, I'm not grounded, and it's always good. like when I'm in the word and I'm grounded and stuff like that, it's like it's hard for me to be worried. Like stuff can be happening, mind you, like the whole house can be on fire, but it's always like I always have. I don't want to say I always have an answer, but I always understand that there's a bigger plan for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I see the word and staying in community, especially like when I'm going to church often, especially helping out in church, photography, whatever it is, like yeah, definitely. That's like family too. Family is a good thing, like especially when I'm spending a lot of time with the kids and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. It
Okay.
helps.
All right, man. Last one, man. We're gonna end it with this one, and
Okay.
I'm gonna kind of put it in both in the question is
Mm-hmm.
ending. But what would be something you would tell your younger self?
Mm-hmm.
And you can leave a few words for any black men that's out there that's
Yeah.
struggling or anything like that. You just leave some type of encouragement word, and then that'd be great.
I think if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, I would say it's all gonna work out.
Hmm.
You know, it's all gonna work out in time. You know, I can go back right now and think about so many things that I worried about, so many things that I was anxious about. You know, and God made it. It's funny. There hasn't been anything that I prayed for that hasn't come to pass.
Ooh,
You
that's so
know, and it may not have happened right on time, but it happened
good.
at the appointed time. You know, and I feel like if I can go back, I'm like, I would tell myself, listen, just do what you got to do.
Yeah,
Whatever you worry about, it's gonna happen.
yeah.
It's gonna happen. And I would tell young people, is like, just stay faithful to God. Stay faithful to God. He will stay faithful to you. Um, and just make sure that you don't do things that's gonna make you regret. Like you can
Hmm.
recover from things, right? You can recover from a lot of things, but some things, even God takes you out of it, man, because you were tethered to it, because you're tied to it. He would just come back and give you headaches, long, long time. Yeah, yeah, you can be out of it, man, but gosh, you know, and that's a whole nother story, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
But
hey, look,
some
I
things,
understand.
some
I
things,
understand with you, bro.
yeah, some things really put a hook in you, and no matter how far you go, it's like it keeps pulling you back. But just stay grounded, stay faithful to God in every situation, in every decision you make, no matter how small the decision is make. Just take it to God.
Yeah.
Take it to God. I can't tell you how many situations I ran and just made a decision, and it took me a year to just like get back to where I needed to go. I got there, but I got there a whole lot slower,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I will be such a wise person for my kids because of how many mistakes I've made in life. Yeah. And people don't need to make the mistakes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that is perfect, bro. Hey, thank you, bro, for coming on, telling your
Thank you, man.
story, man,
Hmm.
and being comfortable and having courage and being bold to do so. Um, I tell you right now that it's going to help somebody, your story. And
Amen.
yeah, if you ever want to get on again, if you want to share, again or share more or whatever, just
Hmm.
like I
Hmm.
said, man, you'll be more than welcome. So I thank you, bro. I
Amen.
love you, bro. And
You too, brother.
everybody, this is Ryan, and this is the whole story. And I pray that those who watch this, that you
Hmm.
get something from it, and that you will come and subscribe and follow us.